morning and welcome again. We have been sharing on overcoming Goliath, and the whole premise of this message is to use the story of David and Goliath and the surrounding experience and events to kind of relate with when we are faced with Goliath in our lives. And I have shared or I've tried to relate or typify a Goliath as something, someone, an experience, a sickness, a situation, whatever it is, that seems to be way too big, huge, of an enemy that comes against it, that sometimes may even make us question our faith or our experience with the Lord. It's almost as if you're trying your very best and you seem to not be getting anywhere. And this is something that is constantly, maybe in someone's mind. You're constantly faced with it. You're constantly having to deal with it. And it might bring fear, makes you lose confidence. It's a Goliath. And we have learned different things from the scripture on how that the Goliath seemed to oppress the children of Israel from the book of 1 Samuel chapter 17. You can read from verse 1 to verse 50. Oppress the children of Israel until the king that was meant to lead the way started having even doubt. We also see how that the people that were supposed to support and to cheer David on and to just applaud his boldness in the Lord rather criticized him. Were angry with him for trying to show himself as being more spiritual than the rest of them. These things are things that are not strange sometimes when we go into situations, and I hope you can relate with that. But what do we do? What do we do? We approach things from the place of faith. We approach things from a scriptural perspective, and hence why we are learning this message. And we realize also when we study how that David, when he was faced with the situation of the elder brother Eliab trying to get upset with him for coming to the battlefield, we saw David's response was to move away because he had a conviction in his heart that greater is he that is in him than he that is standing to defy the name of the Lord. He had a conviction. So when the brother came through and was angry and saying all this discouraging stuff to him, David moved away. Sometimes you don't force yourself to share with people who may not see things from a spiritual point that you may see those things. You see, in the book of, go back there, 1 Samuel, let's just see something else there, 1 Samuel 17, and I'll read verse 38. And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put an helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he has said to go for he has not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off. Wow. Now we see in the scripture here how that the king finally said, okay, David, we have no choice. You can go and represent us. And he put on all this other stuff, all the armor that the soldiers would normally wear on David, and said, go. But these things were just too much for David. They were too heavy on him, and he couldn't move with these things. Because the revelation that David had about the battle, it wasn't based on a physical approach. It was a revelation that he had with God. It was based on a relationship he had with God. And here is Saul trying to bring that relationship and trying to explain it away through a natural means. Trying to say to David, well, you can still approach it from a psychological way, from a way that makes sense. And David tried it, and he couldn't make any progress with it. He couldn't go forth into the battle with such armor. Because he thought to himself, when God used me at the back of the desert, or rather, when no one was seeing me, when God used me to defeat the bear, to defeat the lion, it wasn't based on the fact that, I've been putting on all these things. It wasn't based on that fact. But God used me just as I was. It was the very knowledge that God was with me when I was approaching these things that were coming against me. It wasn't based on what I had on me. It was God being with me. This was David's revelation. But Saul didn't understand that. He said, well, there's a way you can approach it. It was a natural way. And David said, I have not proved it. What am I saying here? When God gives you revelation on how to approach Goliath, based on your relationship with him, do not allow people to try and drag you into a natural means, a psychological means, a way that makes sense to, the world system, and take you away from the place of faith. Because to overcome Goliath, you're going to have to work from a place of personal revelation and relationship with God. David said, I have not proved things like this. This is not how God taught me. This is not how God taught me. To approach Goliath, we're not talking about psychology here. We're not talking about natural means here. We're not talking about human experience. We're not talking about looking at things from the outward point of view. We're talking about a relationship with God that feels the confidence to stand against Goliath. To stand against Goliath in your marriage, in your finance, in your health, in that situation, to stand against Goliath is going to come from the fruit of relationship, personal relationship with God. And that's what I want to encourage you with today. I hope to share with you, by God's grace, tomorrow when we look at how words, how speaking to Goliath can make a huge difference in the outcome. God bless you, and I pray that you have a wonderful and blessed day ahead. Thank you.